And so I started taking high doses of vitamin D. And I also told my entire patient population to do the same thing. I was telling them on an individual basis. And it's not enough to go by scientifically, but I have well over 1,500, close to 2,000 patients easily who come to my clinic, if not a lot more than that. And as many of them as possible, I told to take vitamin D, and I keep telling them, I keep reinforcing it. And I tell them what dose to take. I tell them to take vitamin K2, and I also tell them to take zinc. And then I tell them to up the dose of zinc if they actually develop any viral symptoms, and I tell them what to do. And what I can say is I've had quite a few patients with COVID, as would be expected. And I've probably had a handful who ended up getting to the emergency department and then being sent home with some kind of a treatment plan. I've not had a single patient admitted into hospital, let alone be on an intensive care unit. Now, I don't know what that means, but there were studies that came out soon afterwards. Around a year ago, there was a study in Israel in one of the hospitals which showed that people who were getting very sick were deficient in vitamin D. And people who had high levels of vitamin D were not getting very sick. And if you read a lot of the research, even though it's said that that there's no treatment for COVID other than monoclonal antibodies, etc., etc., it seems to me like we are missing on a very important point here. And I think the whole point of COVID was, from a medical standpoint, was we were told that that all of our efforts are supposed to be there to prevent the hospitals being swamped, to prevent the ICU beds being blocked. We don't have enough ventilators. We don't have enough staff. We want to protect the NHS. We want to protect every health system that we can. And yet what was actually happening was people were being sent home and just told, if your lips go blue, call us again. Or if, that was it. There was no there was no plan even for treating, let alone, a milder case. And I wanted to talk about that basically, because in my humble opinion, this pandemic doesn't need to be anything like what it is.